Welcome to the Corey Shepherd podcast. This is episode number 39. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you to everybody. Please continue to share and like and subscribe on YouTube in particular, but on any of the podcast apps. And of course, I will send out the Cadence Club link where you could find all the episodes. I hope everybody out there staying safe. I hope we're still maintaining social distancing and washing hands and doing the right thing, We'll talk about vaccines at some point during this day, right? I think the vaccines might be the biggest story we're facing here in Trinidad. Nothing is go smooth here, boy. You would think that all the time we tell myself, well, all right, when vaccine time come, we could start seeing the end of this and go back to some kind of normalcy. But boy, never a dull day in this country. Boy, some people say Trinidad is not a real place. I say Trinidad is the realest place it have because every single issue, no matter what it is, always have some kind of thing behind it. But before we go there, I want to talk about a few. I still a little bit in carnival mode. Well, let me tell you how bad carnival mode is for me, right? I catch a VAPS day last week and I tell myself, boy, vaccine and thing on the way. So it's better I take in front and join back the gym just in case we get a late carnival this year, like a September carnival or something they put, if they put through something. Or the borders open back and we had to go on a sweet vacation or a foreign carnival or whatever we had to do. I said, boy, let me go back in the gym and try to get my body at least halfway in a gear because I always do a little half workout just before carnival. So I look in height in my little short pants and thing. I didn't want to look 1,000% crash. But what here now? You talk about pain? What? How your body? Like when you used to work out and thing, why it is when you stop and you start, why is being so much pain like your body and used to that? Like, hey, listen, we work out from time to time. We work out quarterly. Or twice a year. Why we had to go through this set of pain? Hey, I ain't lying. And, it's a real old age episode, because before, at first I know the pain coming when I go and start to lift weights. I'm going to buy up Cataflam and some muscle relaxer. Me know what the name of the what do you think is Midocam? Yeah, let me discuss this old age podcast. I don't know why these, the muscle relaxer working, I suppose, but Cataflam, nothing no beat Cataflam. At we age, when you pop that Cataflam, that thing is just get everything. Everything is be better with Cataflam, except your stomach. So it's a neck. I get pain on top of pain because that working out pain from so long. The last time I worked out was coming up to Carnival 2020. No, 2020 Carnival. I worked out a little bit before that. And the gym never see me again. So I back at it. I taking a head start. I hope all doing the same. Because we hoping for August Carnival. But in the midst of Lent and all that, when I feeling bad about talking too much at Carnival thing, Nyla come and drop a live show. Now, I had to get better at knowing when these things coming. Am I the only one who never know these things coming at all? I only, like, on Twitter and thing, I see people talking about it the night and I tune in. And thankfully, it's another full-on production. Following from Nadia, Patrice, everybody who did it before, Nyla put on a full-on production, and maybe it's fitting that Nyla comes slightly outside of Carnival because her audience, I mean, she's a soca artist, true and true, and come from good stock too, as I talked about last week, but she have a little bit of international appeal, or a lot of international appeal, and I always felt that she would do good singing non-soca music too. Or fusion type music, if that's a thing. And she opened the show with a kind of ballad or a kind of R&B style. I think she would do well in that zone. And it was well produced, and she's an artist, so she went through a song. So I find it was a very, very good show, but and she looked real good too. I mean, and Patrice come out looking real good too. But nothing stood out for me in that show more than with all these songs and the popular songs that we know, and as I realized when after Patrice come out as guest artist time, I see his Nyla now on her bed. Somebody had to help me because I hear little rumors and things back in the day, Nyla and Cass and husband and thing and wife thing and break up and divorcing him on the Nyla. But I never really paid that no mind. I thought that's just normal Trinidadian like Kankalang and Bacchanal. But how... when Kes time to come out, how Nyla on her bed, and then when them perform is a sensual kind of love zone, I boy, you know, the thing look away. If you see, you go and check it out yourself. I hope you'll see it by the time you're looking at this. Like, if you didn't see it yet, like, pause this, go and look at it and come back. Because it's real love and they kind of close and it's up on you and you up on me and I look in my eye and Jim body, and say, nobody. I said, but what going on? What is this? See? And you know, even if the rumors was true that you know, I would not do that as man. I tell you, if I married, this is very, very hypothetical. But if I married, and I was like doing something, I mean, I don't anything on the side. And let me say we get busted, whatever, marriage mash up, me and you go on a separate way, right? Let me put it this way. Once you use a side thing, use always a side thing. It's a no married this. I don't know about these things. These things don't register with me for married this side thing. That's madness. And then on top of that, even if that is not, I'm not sure if that is the case with two of them, but I'm not even making that bad skylark where my ex-wife now had to watch a show where I up in your eye and you in my eye and a bed in the background. And these are the same people. If any of this is true, this could all be made up, right? But if it was true, if them rumors that was going around was true, let me say it was just rumors. If it was rumors, I'm not doing that, even after we done. Because I don't want you to come back and tell me the next time I see you, you see, I tell you, look, I ain't going through that. And if it was true, boy, I don't tell you about deny, and cry. Yes, I deny, and cry. I not admitting nothing. Even if it's years after me and doing no show where I had to look up in your eye and you looking up, whatever. Give me the workout, B. Give me the workout now. Nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. But Salute to Nyla, it was a great show. More of that. I'm wondering as this thing push on, where we still have this new normal or this not coming together and stuff. How much of an artist would need to not just reconnect with a crowd, but a part of it is the income and how you're going to generate money for it. So I know White Oak was one of her. She's done ads for White Oak a lot before, and White Oak seemed to be a sponsor in this show. So I hope it is a way for artists to generate revenue. I hope all the money now going back into putting on the show. As selfish as I am and liking the little shows, I hope that the artists find a way to make some money. But that Nyla show make me wonder if that is what we're gonna see for a while. Like Kes did a few versions of a show, including the whole week on the rocks. But is it that every month you're gonna see these artists coming back together and putting on things and promoters putting on shows as completely virtual? I just think if that is the case, we need to work out some things in the way we present in a virtual show. Like you could even hear the artists adjusting to the hand in the air and everybody scream and all, they make some noise and you hear a lot of them little things slipping out. And I suppose it would take the artists time to adjust with that. But I feel like technically we have some work to do because I'm not understanding Nyla and most soca artists now is sing with a backing track, right? I sorry to go back to this again, but I don't talk about this. They have this Ableton thing where it's like a DJ playing a track of your voice or selected parts of the record while you singing. So while the band, I remember a time when Marshall was performing. Boy, to be honest with you, it looked like Marshall just had a bass and a drummer as the only two live instruments, and everything else was the record itself playing. Now, that's decent. But I don't think anything is beat a full band and a live band, both for the energy of the performer and the energy of the audience. So when they're doing this thing where a big part of the backing track or the record itself playing in the background, I find it taken away from the performance. And unfortunately with Nyla, I don't know if that was what was happening on stage or if that was just what was coming through when they did the stream. It was off. It was off. For everybody, all the artists, the backing track and the artist was slightly off. So you're hearing it like a kind of, not exactly an echo, but a delay on one over the other. It was a little bit, I don't know if you listen to it and tell me if you hear it, but for me it's a little bit annoying. I couldn't, it was spoiling the listening experience of the thing. And like I'm wondering why it's necessary as a live show. You don't have any thousands of people to sing over. What you need that whole set of backing track for? And then the issue was, I don't know what happened with monitoring on stage and stuff, but again, the artist sounding slightly more Nyla, not so much Patrice song. When Kes was singing with her, check out that part, the love part. And there was no backing track there because they weren't singing this song, like they slow it down and sing a sensual version. So it's no backing track for that. So you could hear both of them vocals and they're singing, and they could both sing. Both of them is vocalists. But when they're doing the ones with the backing track, where she was doing Iron Man and is the original track she's singing over, it's sung pitchy, it's sung in maybe just the delay have it sung so, but I mean, I find it real unnecessary. I might be nitpicking this because maybe I should just give me a little free show and hush, but I just feel like if this is what we're doing going forward, because I don't hear, and I mean, who knows if they're going to have a Carnival 2023. So this is a way for our artists to showcase themselves, build a new audience, launch the new music. You can imagine when new music time swing around again and we still locked down, a virtual show might be the best way to put that out. So again, I'm grateful for them doing it. But I'm making the complaints so that we get better at it overall. Like, it's not a live show. A lot of it could be packaged and produced properly, and like I was saying with the way Tribe did Laugh Way. But salute to Nyla for doing that fire show. And Nyla, salute too to keeping it an hour. It was real tight. Talking about time, let me watch more on time and move on to the next topic. Yeah? But another live show, and I'm not comparing these two. So the name of Nyla's show was Fire. And I saw a legend come out to that show this week too. It was real nice to see that. Boy, listen, water in my eye watching that show. That was Beres Hammond, Love from a Distance. It's still on YouTube, right? So check it out, because Beres, if you ever went to a Beres show, and I'm ashamed to say, as much as I went to real shows in my time, I never see Beres perform live. I don't know what it was. I just never... My young days, I know love man too, so I don't want to carry no one woman and no Beres. I always feel like if I carry a woman Beres, I'm missing out on about thing. And I don't want too much people see me love man in the Beres, and then it's spoiling my other chances with other people. So I guess I'm a real miss. And there's so many opportunities to see Beres here, but I just never reached. I never went. But I see enough of him performing, like watching him online and stuff. And one thing about Beres Hammond performances, in his own ways, a real high energy performance. I mean, he reached the age now, he ain't running up and down stage, but you could see that the performing, like, it's fill him up. You know what I mean? Is overtake him. The crowd reaction to songs that he been singing. Like, I mean, Beres Hammond's legend status, and some of his songs is most iconic songs in reggae and lovers rock. And when you see his response to the crowd reaction is something else, boy. Beres is all over the place, bouncing. He bouncing off the walls basically in his own way when he brings some of his big hits. And so I had to tune in when I see Beres doing a show. And sure enough, one of the first things Beres say was, "Listen, I'm missing all. I'm missing the crowd. I'm missing performances and things." You could see that was genuine, because he's a real stage guy. And boy, the man run through some of his hits. You could see for him too, it was slightly awkward, this idea of performing for nobody or just for cameras. I think it was nice too, where I was saying this about humor, not humor. Who had a show with very few people? I think it was Soca Monarch. I was saying that about a couple of weeks ago, where just maybe the production staff and the people at the venue was giving them a little vibes and a little energy. That nice too. But you know what? Just straight from Beres a little bit. With my little bit of experience playing music, I think will work for streams or as a packaged production for people to watch. If you're really like an artist, like you say you're a real Beres fan, a glimpse into what happens in the band room, I think would be a real interesting idea for people. Because, I mean, performing live and stuff is, that energy that a crowd is giving you back when you're performing live, I find is hard to match. But also, for me, when I perform in live or when our band performing, I'd be nervous, I'd be conscious, I'd be trying to perfect the way I play and the way I sing. And, it's a lot, I don't want to call it stressful, because I enjoy it, but it's stressful to an extent, right? What I really enjoy in music is sometimes when we're rehearsing, like I guess like in Christmas only him talk about house parang so much, and maybe that is the best way for me to describe it, because when you're on stage have a certain tension that comes with performing. I don't know if other performers feel that way, but I'm never fully relaxed on a stage. But when you're quote unquote house parang, it's a very, very big difference. You just relax and you play and you don't care about mistakes, and it allows you to take more chances, bring different songs and those types of things. So if I could make that a real crude comparison to what happens in a band room, when you're in a band room with musicians and singers and stuff, there's no pressure, there's no crowd, there's no tension. It's just easy and it's flow. And maybe that's something that worth packaging and showing people. And I think it might be a way to get out of this thing where artists either saying put your hand up when it's nobody there, or this awkward thing where they're saying put some fire emojis. I find that so awkward too. Maybe if that is work for youths, but I find that real awkward. If you treat the show like if it's a band room rehearsal and take people into what that session, the song like, and a little more uncut and raw and not so rehearsed, I think that might be valuable. But anyway, back to Beres. Beres came out and did his thing, and he started running through songs, and at first that initial part of him starting to sing, that's what it felt like Beres was at a rehearsal, not really a show. And then boy, he just fit in under a Harmony House band and Beres. I mean, they tight. And this is what again, I don't want to compare the two, but this is what maybe I'm trying to say about the virtual soca performances. When you look at Beres have a full band, and the band is several pieces, right? You have drums, you have keys, you have a guitar, a bass, you have 2 saxophone men, a trumpet man, and you have 3 backup singers who on point with their harmonies and everything. A percussion man, he just dealing with the percussion and thing. This is what I feel might be missing from some of our performances. Number one, we eliminate backup singers totally. So I mean, when you talk about people like family of mine, Renault Hunt, and then Natalie York, we have a series of backup singers who just no longer around because we don't use backup singers anymore. So again, we use that backing track thing rather than a backup singer, because you need something to fill out your voice, and especially as a with live performances, you will miss, you will take breaks, you know what I mean. The backup singers is really put that through, and boy, Beres backup singers sung good, and his voice harmonizing with them, and not just the harmonizing, a part of it is the way they interact on the stage. They gave off a family kind of vibe, and like just look at all performances, all soca performances. Go back to or Calypso, go back to Spectacular Tent and look at them things, and how much of a role the backup singers played in delivering soca and Calypso music, and that just get phased out. I can't tell you the last time I see a show with any backup singers. So men have a live band, but come like this singing with a DJ. But anyway, Beres had his backup singers and it was good. And again, the number of pieces in the band, so much different instrumentation. The guitar man could take a solo, the keyboard man solo in the drum. You know what I mean? It give a more full performance. So let me put it this way. When I watched Beres, I was feeling like I was watching, I was feeling more like I was watching a live performance than I have felt when I watch any of these shows for this carnival so far. Because you see, and they give you several different camera angles. They close up on the guitar man, they show the keyboard man, the backup the singers seem to have their own camera on them. And one of the things that I feel like our shows have that they don't do much of at all in Jamaica, especially with reggae music, even reggae and dancehall, same kind of thing. Like Nyla dances, she had a whole set of dances with her and stuff, and it full out and make the show great. Like, I would love to see Beres interact with a dance troupe like that, boy. That would be something to see. Like, who did it well? Like Olatunji always does well with his dancers. So, I mean, to see somebody like Beres do that, but I mean, maybe that's not their style, but that would really enhance the performance. But we in soca music need to get back to some of them things like proper instrumentation, a full band, backup singers, percussionists. Because you notice we don't have percussionists so at all. his drum machine right through. It make the music sound kind of artificial, kind of cardboardish. But anyway, Beres bring out Buju. That was a treat to see, like Buju come out. I'm glad to see Buju in the little virtual performance, man, because Buju done cuss with everybody with COVID. I thought he was going to do that again, you know, because at one point, like, he was gearing up. He was like, listen, they tell us we social distance when we had to love one another. I was like, oh God, here we go. But he hold it together, and two of them performing together is just something else to see, boy. And you know, the thing about it is this. With a live band and with so many live instruments, they had no backing track. Beres have no voice at Beres' age compared to our young soca artists. He ain't no backing track behind him to fill out his voice. I'm just saying. But when they sing together, you could see like it's so many mistakes, so many impromptu things. So at the end of one of these songs, would you bring back a old Beres song? Beres and all was like, boy, I didn't even know you could remember them songs. And a genuine love between both of them, but the spontaneity out of the music, which is one of the best parts of live performances, it dies when everything is a backing track. You cannot do that when you had a backing track behind you. You can't stop. And you know what I mean? You can't, I don't know. I guess the first person I see make that really very popular was Marshall. And I remember that when Umi was with the band back then. I can't remember what they used to call themselves back then. Was the HD? And it was tight. I mean, as a show, it was well put together. It was tight. It had no sort of lapsing. And he giving you a full performance within the specified time. So that's the upside. But the downside was that an artist couldn't do much. He couldn't ad-lib much. He couldn't change the set much. It's so rigid, boy. But Buju was a gem to see, and he come out and do it. But I think the highlight of the performance for me was seeing Marcia Griffith come out. Even then, they had a couple false start, Beres, Missy Q. But boy, Marcia Griffith's voice, boy, that woman's voice, so like you was hearing Beres' voice all the time throughout the show up to this point, and how nice and sweet and accurate that man's voice is. And powerful, of course, at his age especially. But boy, when Marcia Griffiths came out, oh my God, her voice was powerful, and it is the same. And you know, talking about backup singers, remember Marcia Griffiths was a backup singer for Bob Marley. She would have been with the original I-Threes back in the day. I think it was Judy Mowat, Rita Marley, and Marcia Griffiths. So, I mean, oh God, that was just good to see her. But that might be my favorite reggae artist. Just listening to Marcia Griffiths, and boy, that was something else, boy. They come and they do this song together, and she looked regal as usual, and that was a treat. Bring water to my many times just watching that performance. And Beres seemed emotional, like just to see Marcia there. And you know, he kind of telling Marcia, he's like, girl, we can't even perform for nobody. You could see the genuineness in the performance. And then surprisingly, the man bring out popcorn. I was trying to figure out, well, where exactly is the plan with popcorn concerned? But they did a song together. I think it's God is Love is the name of the song, if I'm not mistaken. And I never heard this song before, but I definitely went and look it up after and take it in, because it is not the combination that I would. It's not an obvious combination to me between Beres Hammond and Popcorn. As a matter of fact, if you had asked me if two of them would have know each other, I would have probably said, nah, them only know one another by name. But Popcorn came out, and again, the spontaneity in music. He come out, and before the cue, he tell the band, pull up, stop. I just want to say the amount of respect I have for you, and I love you as an icon. Like, again, it lends something. So I feel like I was watching a real live performance. So one of the differences between Beres' show and some of the other shows I saw during the carnival is I didn't want to stop watching the show. I didn't want to tune out and tune back in when the next song started. I didn't want to be in my phone checking nothing while the show going on. And when I watch it over, watch over the recording, I didn't feel like skipping out big parts to see when he reached the next song, because I'm feeling like I'm going to miss something. I'm not feeling like I'm watching the record home by me. Or listening to the I keep saying record, that making my song just as old as that Cataflam thing when we start off. But it feel a little different, and it feel a little more spontaneous. But boy, that combination with Popcorn was a nice touch. And I hear Barris only asking, boy, I wonder if I could remember the song. But he do good, and they really come together and combine well. And then, of course, from then on, Barris just went and closed off the show with his biggest hits. It was nice, boy. And I miss this more than any of the others. I mean, I really miss Fets during Carnival. But this show with Barris make me realize how much I miss not just partying, but like concerts, that type of vibe where you could go and take in a show. I really, really miss that. And it's like, because I get the opportunity to see some of these dancehall and reggae shows in Jamaica versus Trinidad, like it's some slight differences between the two. One of the things after going real shows here and then going shows in Jamaica, one of the things I appreciate about shows in Trinidad that difference is the performances we see down here. I'm not sure that you see a lot of that in Jamaica at all, you know. So when Buju came out and do the long Walk to Freedom tour, and I spare thought for Buju in that Barris show too, you know, we can imagine Buju now come out a couple of years ago and is straight into a pandemic. The man done lockdown again, can't do no sort of touring and thing. But when he did that long Walk to Freedom tour, that is more like a show that we are accustomed seeing in Trinidad, where you get the artist and he run out the whole catalog and it's a Buju show. So it had a couple supporting acts and thing, but it's a full show. But when you go, well, like I went a few shows over there, Champions in Action a couple times, and I can't remember the name of some of the bigger shows on the North Coast. Champion in Action was in Portmore, and then there are a few more in Montego Bay and thing. You see them artists for a short time. It's like it have so much artists that I go on I hustling to reach the show by 9 o'clock in the night. When I reach Portmore Entertainment, it was Portmore Entertainment Center or Jam World. I think it was Jam World. But when I reach Jam World, it's me and Lone and my brethren Wayne. Salute my guy Wayne. We in Jam World by myself. I saw her like lime 9 o'clock in the night. That's the time you're looking to go show down here. Not realizing that from about midnight when the artists start coming on, you're getting real small artists. And you're not seeing them time as Cartel and Movado and them. You ain't seeing Cartel and them till sunrise. So we end up there the whole night. It's more like a festival kind of vibe because there's so much artists passing through and there's real food cooking and the bar. And you know what I mean? It's like people bring their little lawn chair kind of thing to sit down and take in the show and them thing. And like there's get kicks off for like people who bleaching too, because when the big artists coming on, man who bleaching at a hide because sun coming up. And you can't do all that bleaching and waste all your bleaching cream and then the sun blacken you right back up. But there's a real difference in shows over there. And I don't know which one I prefer now. Well, you know how shows down here is be like. Some of the best shows I see down here would be, the best for sure would be a Barrington Levy in the stadium. Barrington Levy is the first artist I hear songs so much like his records, like his recordings. That man sung just like his albums, but that show, everything about that show was good. I remember a young fellow, but I know how my mother managed to let me go that to no boy, but I know them days was Wicked and Damage and Paco suit. All you remember them thing, boy? When you used to wear a Paco suit, you remember when we used to cry to wear them thing and looking retarded? I don't know why you used to wear them kind of clothes. And boy, I get a Wicked suit. Them time my aunt, Auntie Lois in the States, Auntie Lois send on a Wicked suit for me, boy. Listen, this is a orange denim short pants. I had a short pants champion them time too. And the short pants, when you fold up the sleeve, the what you call that, the pants leg, when you fold up that, it's a netted vest material under that orange and white stripe. I'll never forget that. And my jersey now is one of them netted vest jersey. So my whole body outside, I'm feeling cold. And why we so wear them netted vest thing, boy? And I go down in the stadium the night one. Them days, concert and thing is real fight, you know. Real fight. I remember in that show, people fight break out. And them days they still selling bottle and a man was with bucket selling Mackinson and Caribbean thing out the bucket. And boy, bottle pelt out of that bucket till the man started to get beat with the bucket. You just seeing the crowd clearing and it's big fight. But them shows used to be a real vibe. Like now when I'm thinking about that, there's no chance of me going nothing with that kind of violence in it. No, but back then you're dying to go to that show. And I have on my wicked suit, my netted vest. And them days, I wonder what year that was, boy. I mean, I want to lie now. I know it's in the 90s for sure, but I can't remember what year it would have been, Maybe 96, 97. And if you wasn't in a if you wasn't in a Paco or Wicked or a Damage, like netted vest or bullet hole suit and them kind of thing, you're silk from head to toe. You're silk down. You have a silk shirt and a silk pants, and you know half the silk. It wasn't really silk, boy. It's heavy rayon and thing. Man, once you're shining, you're right then. It didn't have to be silk. I used to wear them thing, boy. It's mustard and purple on the shirts. It's like, why we used to wear them clothes? Boy. And gold was a big thing them time too. Like I really wanted to get one of them glasses. Them time I have 20/20 vision, I know, but once our glasses bad. Them days, Tower Promotions, Mikey had a store on Frederick Street. And they used to sell music and thing out of the store, CDs and them thing. It's just after Prince Street going down, just before Prince Street going down Frederick Street. Boy, hey, this is real back in the day, boy. And he used to sell accessories, but I remember him selling a gold frame glasses. This time it's sure watching on video cassette and thing with with Bujo and them with our gold frame glasses, and I want to wear that bad to go to the show. But I had to settle for my Damage and my British Knights and thing or Wicked or whatever it was, and men in this silk suit. And I remember that particular show. I don't know if Kiskadee Caravan was a big thing. It had to be because General Grant was the man in that show. And listen, anybody who remember that show go remember General Grant. I didn't want to say he take the show from Barrington Levy, but he was the highlight of the show. Barrington is Barrington. You can't really outclass him, but General Grant take that show. Them time Terror Fabulous had sing "Show Me Uno" and "All Original Diarted Gunman." Listen. And General Grant take that little piece and then do a freestyle in between. And boy, the man freestyling line after line. Listen, bars back in General Grant day from when I used to sell weed in Lavanti. Hey, that man just mad. And everybody in his show. I don't know where we get so much a caps gun. But if you remember the little caps gun, we used to look like a little revolver. Not the caps where you used to get the little red reel, like 100 caps on a reel. Remember that, boy? But it had one where you used to get 6 or 8 shots on a plastic thing and you had to stick it in the gun. And boy, we had gun. We have caps gun. And real caps. I don't know if somebody must make a mint. Because boy, it's about shots busting when General Grant sing. I remember boy, that was one of the best shows I ever went. Boy. And listen, them two things so mismatched. When I'm thinking about it now, it's like General Grant singing the most gangster thing on that Terror Fabulous rhythm. And then right after that, Barrington Levy coming and sing about Vice Versa Love. But it was it was a show. And I remember them days, I excited when the show done. Like I say, I can't remember. I don't know how my mother managed to let me go there. Because she was the original band woman. She's the band champion of the world. Like at time I remember, they had a sting, a local sting here. With Bounty Killer, Junior Demus. I can't remember who else was on that cast now, but I remember Bounty Killer and Junior Demus for sure. I think I talked about this on this podcast before. If it's not Sting 94, it's 95. And that show would have been one of the first times I see a show with so much artists on it. That is when they start doing Sting locally here. I think the same Roy Mirage used to do Sting, who used to do all them Firefest and thing. And that was the first time Bounty Killer comes. So that, I mean, as a real Bounty fan, so I want to be up in it. And I asked my mother say, who you want to go and see? Bounty Killer? No, stay home. So if it's Sting 95, I was 15 or 14 them times coming to think about it. I don't know where I asked my mother to go them thing for, no? But I decided I would try a shot, boy, because the night before, have a show in the state, in the complex, Ron Kenoli, heavy gospel show. So I say, well, all right, I'll try a sepia. I say, here, where's the scene? I go from Sunday school and thing. I will line up some Ron Canoli tickets and tell my mother, well, I go in Ron Canoli. So when she hears Ron Canoli, it can't blank me that I'm going to a little gospel show. I go on the gospel show the night before. And it's so sad because when I in the gospel show, there's song checking for Bounty Killer right next door and thing. So when them going into worship and praise song, I hear them song checking Bounty Killer. And I tell myself, well, even if I go to the gospel show, she go care blank me for the, no care blank me home in a place, and I miss that show, boy. But in my mind, them time too, my father is the cool one. So I say, well, my mother blanking me, I ain't go thing. I go on the Barrington Levy show, I bust my shots next, and my father asking me, you know, he's worried. He worried about me going to the show. I tell him, man, I said, nah, the show was good. Everybody was safe. I say, boy, we had a real caps gun and busting shots in here. That man was real mad. I had to get a lecture for a whole hour. But somebody would have pulled out a real gun. And listen, my father is the most paranoid. He is paranoid himself. Salute to my father today. It's his birthday this week. Happy birthday to my guy. And listen, the paranoia, that man is just a paranoid. When it comes to he and his children, the man don't make joke. He ain't playing no games. The man's a protective parent. And I mean, we try to make a few lime this weekend for your birthday, but I realize I from now on, from next year, so when I come on this podcast after my father's birthday next year, I will tell Lolly what we do for his birthday, right? Because he's a man, as much as he's a doer, he's the fastest mover I ever see in my life. When it comes to business and opportunities and things, he is moving. It is scary at times. Go back and listen to conversations with Ken Corby, right? You will hear more about him and his own history and background and things. But that man don't really like planning, boy. That man is every year for his birthday, we trying to make plans within the week of his birthday itself. I don't know if it is he worried, you know, worried about your birthday, he wants to plan too far in advance. Next thing you know, you ain't make it. I don't know if that is what he's been studying, or like at time I tell him to let me do whatever he had to do the weekend before the birthday. The man said, nah, I don't like to celebrate my birthday before, you know. I don't know if he's worried about not making it, but boy, within 1 week, we plan for 7 destinations and we reach none. We start with Toko. Then we reach, we say we will go to Bago. We say we will go cruising. Then Macrip, Maracas. Boy, listen, one thing after the next and none of it come out. But salute to my guys. Happy birthday to him. But yeah, he real worried about me going shows them time. And my mother just let it fly. I remember going to MC Hammer. Salute to Jill Sampson to remind me about that would have been my first show, definitely. I think she said it was Aswad and CNC Music Factory. I went there with my sister, Janelle. Like, we sit down in the stands and taking that show. And I remember Aswad clearly. Like, the big song they had was, You used to see the smile on my face. And now that you're gone, it's no longer a trace. And I think that, boy, that was nice. Yeah, I'm a good time lover. Them time I heavy in dancehall and reggae them times. And I can't remember what year that was, but that show was amazing. And then I remember going MC Hammer and Boys to Men. Let me see our men memories. Let me go down memory lane here. I wonder if people can remember MC Hammer and Boys to Men. That's a real odd combination to it. But, and now it making me wonder, like, how come we don't see international artists in the prime of their career again, like long time, boy? Because when we watching that would have definitely been mid-90s. So Boyz II Men and MC Hammer and them was big at the time. So it's not, I mean, I guess we see Beyonce when she was big and thing down here too. So, but MC Hammer and Boyz II Men, I remember going down with my guy Damian Panton. And, you know, we groupie. We want to be backstage. We ain't know nobody here. We don't know how to get in backstage. So them days it was in the stadium. And the stage was facing the west. So the backstage was where the not where the footballers just come out now to play. That was where the backstage was. So the stage facing the covered standing. So me and Damian get a bright idea because I don't know how we end up with 2 man and Boyz II Men. So we didn't know what to do when they singing all them love song already. But Hammer had to come on now, so I said, Damian, let me go wrong going wrong in the uncovered stand, all the way around to the back of the stage, so we could see Hammer come out now, boy. And you know, groupie. So we walk around there and saying when Hammer time to come on, we watching through the fence, like if we watching two team come out, we watching through the fence, and we get a glimpse of Hammer walking out. It's then when he walk out and reach and he say, I say, but Damien, we go miss the show. We had to run wrong in front, boy. We pick up our speed, you're young. So I pelting coming wrong that uncovered stand. Speed coming wrong. But if you know the uncovered stand, when people say no, it's about a road there for or aisle where the steps is. But when the stand empty and you running around that thing, you have to watch your step by where the steps is. Boy, Damien, watch his step now. That man face plant so hard on that stadium. Boy, and, all running down, man, forget that. And them days, I wear my wicked suit for the Barrington and thing, but I silk out, I fully silk. I tell you, mustard and purple for Hammer. And the buttons on them shirts used to be a kind of material, nearly like glass. You button in your shirt with so bad in the show. Having a buffalino, crispy. Boy, them days those days with shows and them things. I mean, how I reached quite there, I really just started to talk about Barris. Let me get back on track to where we're supposed to go. But I would love to hear what everybody's favorite show was. What they feel was the biggest show they ever went to down here. I feel Barrington was it for me. Let me see what happens to if we really get back to a point where we have shows like that again, or if it's just the virtual show till that do us part. I know some I forget to mention about Barry's show too that I find was unique. Well, at least I didn't see it in any of these soccer shows. They show you little clips of the audience viewing from home, not the audience who was there. Like if it was it looked like a Zoom, right? So I don't know what technology they use for people to view it live. But you could see the faces of people enjoying it and clapping when they're at different parts of the performance and reacting when they see Marcia Griffiths come out. That's something we should probably incorporate too. But I mean, who knows? Post-vaccine, maybe? All right, so we had to talk about this vaccine situation and the COVID situation here. A few episodes we didn't talk about COVID, right? So somehow we all back here, and I guess we always know we don't come back here. It's a cycle. And while I see more and more international lockdowns happening, like I said last week, we're fortunate to be a little bit insulated from it. But as I say that now, you come in and see where they have an outbreak within immigration. So they're talking about several people in immigration either contracting or having to quarantine. So I read from the Newsday, right? This is Sean Douglas. And says the Ministry of National Security said on Monday all COVID-19 preventative measures were in place to ensure the continuity of the Immigration Division services at Piarco Airport. The statement came after media reports of a number of officers being infected and their colleagues quarantined. The release said that the permanent secretaries of Ministry of National Security, Gary Joseph and Nataki Atiba Dilchan, met with Chief Immigration Officer Derek Cregwell to discuss the current immigration-related issues. Fast forward to the end of it, I think it was coming out from the Ministry of National Security. It said we continue to provide all necessary resources to ensure the well-being of its officers. And the last statement was that there's preliminary evidence that suggests that the contraction of COVID-19 may not have been directly associated with the official performance of duties by personnel. So I don't know. I mean, they will know when they do the contact tracing, but my initial thought was, hey, if we have exemptions and people coming into the country, it could well be, I mean, I didn't think of it before, but people who working in the airports or in immigration would be at higher risk if most of our cases coming from outside. But in saying now it might be internal, I'm not sure what that would be, but as I say, immigration would be as essential a service as there could be. I suppose even when the borders close, because somebody had to process people coming back in who coming on exemptions and so on. And like I talked about Bravo last episode, and he coming and going often based on his job. So immigration, I mean, again, let's try and still maintain doing the right thing, because I would hate to end up in a position locally here where we spared from the wrath of this virus and most of what it's brought, at least to this point. Of course, condolences to everybody who's lost people, and get well to everybody who contracted it. And I hope you come back stronger than ever. But we've been spared of the wrath of this. When you look at what Italy looked like and what New York looked like at different points in time, you could see that we've been a little bit, we live in a bubble, basically, like, but a lot of things are wrong us. So I just hoping that every time I hear news like this, we have to remind ourselves. I have to remind myself to continue to do the right thing and maintain the distance, wash my hands, and also don't leave home unnecessarily. I always have to remind myself of that one because as restaurants open back, I want to eat in a restaurant every day. I still feel a little awkward taking off the mask in different places to the point where I wet down my whole mask with some Starbucks the other day. It's not so me the most coordinated man and things. So when I get accustomed to this mask, I forget I had my face. But I won't bathe my whole self down with coffee juices all on my mask. But I mean, maybe it's the better thing to do. I would hate, and the Prime Minister said it, I don't think our country could withstand another lockdown. And that's the way I feel about business too. Our business, as well as all the other businesses out there, I always feel for bar owners and so on. I don't know if we could take another bout of a lockdown like that. And maybe I'm in this mode because March last year is when we end up, at least in Trinidad, starting to face the reality of what this virus is. And by the end of March, we was closing borders and locking down, no restaurants, nothing open at all. So I guess I'm in reflective mode because I'm grateful to survive this year, both physically and also in business and relationships and everything. I'm glad to have a year of this where, other than the protocols and the things that we have to do to safeguard ourselves, not much change in my life. I'm very grateful for that. And if anybody else face changes, I hope it's for the better and people get recover from whatever they're facing. But maybe this March I'm feeling a little way because I am hoping that we're not looking at another situation where we lock down again. And you'll realize that we're real close to having the borders closed for a full year. Interesting, boy. Now, if you had asked me, I didn't think our economy could survive with the borders being closed for a full year, especially taking into consideration Carnival, of course, but business travel. Because so much of what our tourism is, for Trinidad in particular, is business related. So I see Hyatt have some specials going on now. And I see the boy JW and Whitney and them, it look like there's some PR work going on and they're trying to push their specials for people to come and stay. Largely because, you think about booking Hyatt before. Hyatt was booked up all the time because we have business travel deals getting done between oil and gas and manufacturing and everything. And services, seminars, those things would book out them spaces in no time. But we just living in a world now where I don't know what Hyatt and Hilton and them things, I don't know what their books looking like and everything. I was in a meeting today with a guy who is a senior financial decision maker in a pretty large company. And he was saying, he said, boy, our plans is really for 2023. We're not looking at anything significant changing between now and 2022. I was like, wow, this is rough times. And you're looking at the news and hearing how many is job losses and job changes and restructuring, and you're going through the malls and some of these stores closed. Is really a real different time. So when the news of a vaccine is on the horizon, it's looking like we're seeing a little bit of a silver lining. But boy, this place, Trinidad is the greatest country on earth. Yes, it can't have nothing that just smooth. They say Johnson & Johnson is a one-shot vaccine, Moderna is a two-shot vaccine, and I don't know enough about it. But from the time I hear vaccine and thing, I'm ready to line up and let the chips fall where they may. I know people who are anti-vaccine people and thinking that they're putting a DNA chip in your body. Chip me up, yes, I'm ready to go back to some kind of normal. We could deal with the consequences. And if that is how the conspiracy theorists catch us, well, I telling you now, I catch. So I waiting to see what is happening. And like we said last week, issues start to brew up about whether Barbados give us thing, or if we ask for it, or if we were entitled to it, or if it's a favor to do it. And then internally, our own little politics. Listen, this is why I have real problems with politicians, because I myself come on this podcast many times and talk about issues I have with the management of COVID. Like if I know something about managing any anything that's going viral within a pandemic that causing people to lose their life. But half of what I say is based on emotion. So gratefully, I'm not making any decision. But I do give a lot of credit to the current government and how they manage it and put us in a state where we in that bubble and we're not dealing with the reality of it. Are frightened bad for the economy, you know that already. But other than that, we're not dealing with the reality of what people facing with COVID. And again, the WHO came out and say, or is it PAHO, come out and say, hey, top marks for Trinidad, we're doing good. But apparently the opposition, and you know, the thing about the opposition that people, maybe the supporters I should talk to that would not realize this. You all realize that the opposition is part of the government. I don't know if we know this as a country, you know. The government is made up of one who is elected, so the best and the second best. That is who constitutes the government of the country. And this, if ever you was to come together and govern, I would think a crisis situation that the whole world is facing, not just Trinidad and Tobago, would be the best time to do that. So when I'm watching this issue with this Indian vaccine, or again vaccines from India, boy, it's infuriating. It's infuriating. I can't listen. Me and politicians, I can't like these people, you know. And these are the same people as want to come back to tell me about voting for them, boy. How I could vote for them? These people have no, and this is what I say all the time. They don't have their main priority is not us or the citizens or the well-being of the nation. That is not their main priority. Because when I look at the issue with India, I think to myself, okay, if India donating vaccines to less fortunate countries, now one of the things that's strange about this whole thing is that we still see in the world as first world and third world, and the stupidity of that is amazing to me, because the first world, quote unquote, cannot get over this pandemic if the whole third world don't get vaccinated. So I don't know what they're talking about. But again, human nature, greed, insatiable appetites, unsatisfiable. Everybody want the vaccine first. So everybody rushing. And the statement is so blurry. I don't know who to believe, if it's the government or the opposition. I don't know if it's PNM or UNC. I don't know if it's ketchup or mustard. But one school of thought saying that India promised vaccines for CARICOM region, and the impression they got was that they were going to send for everybody, not knowing that you had to make a request. Now that's odd, and I see Keyshawn Haynes breaking it down on Twitter. Follow Keyshawn Haynes on Twitter and you'll see his breakdown and the questions he asking. Very, very pertinent questions if you ask me, because I trying to figure out, if you say you're going to give us vaccines, you're going to help us because we poor and disenfranchised and we coming off of being pillaged by things like slavery and so on, and we can't recover yet. So you'll give you some vaccine in case, you're really giving us in case we come close to you, you know what, we give you that, right? So cool. What is this thing that you had to request it? It's an odd kind of thing. So if you're making a gift to me, like come like Christmas time, and this is why I had to tell Zachary Christmas here, I know Santa Claus, you know, is your mother money spending. Because if Santa giving you gift and he's also all knowing and saying, we had to write this letter to Santa requesting gift for, then your mother buying that gift. The only reason you're writing the letter really is so your mother could see one day letter so she could get you a gift. So it come like we is little children, and these people is all of a sudden the most magnanimous people, and Santa Claus, they're giving us some vaccine, and we only getting it if we write them. Now, where do I tending to believe that is not true. There's something about that fishy. Because think about this. If you have a little giveaway in your store, you running a little shop, let me say you have a parlor wrong by you, and you say, you know what, things hard in the community, I'm going to start to give out bread to everybody. You know, everybody need bread, I'm going to give you bread and them kind of thing, right? Let's just assume that you say, I'm not giving it to anybody unless they come and they ask me, right? I didn't ask because I didn't know you were supposed to ask. I hear bread given away, so I expecting my bread. But in the interim, I come and buy you every day and negotiating with you, buying this, buying that, coming, we hanging around, we talking and thing. And at no point do you feel like you should say, hey, I know you're buying us out of this, but I have some bread free, you know, so hold our bread. Because from the time they start talking about vaccines, this is a long time ago. This is last year I talking about. they were talking about India as being a source for the vaccine and one of the people who lead in the research. I don't know if people remember this. And since then, they were talking about moving, like being or setting up to, how do I say this? Put themselves in position to be in talks with India to procure vaccines. In other words, to buy vaccines from them, right? And that conversation between Trinidad and Tobago government and the Indian government is going on, from what I understand, to buy vaccines from them. So at no point during those going-ons, nobody in finalize and say, well, hey, we have some vaccine gainway too. So here what? You're ordering 500,000 for your people? We hold 100,000 as brother. I don't know. I don't know how that is possible that never came up. Or even on our side, how come it never come up where we talking to them and we saying we're gonna buy XYZ, and in Trinidad we the kings up saying, boy, let's not have a 14, what you gonna do for me? We do that all the time. So how come we all of a sudden we lost the ability to bargain and to get more and to ask for something, you know what I mean? Or even in the discussions to say, well, we come to buy 500,000, but we hear yours giving some to carry come. We on that list, how can we become? This is the most odd situation I have ever seen. I can't pretend to understand what playing off in the behind the scenes there. But what I find is the infuriating part is the celebratory mode of the opposition while this is going on. Because I see the Speaker of the House had to talk to Anil Roberts. Like Anil Roberts' role is to cause as much confusion as possible. No matter what happened, make whoever you're facing on the government side look bad. It doesn't matter if they are part of the PNM. Any rhetoric, once they're saying something that we don't like or they're sounding like the PNM, Anil Roberts' role is to do that. Not just in the Senate, but also with a show called Douglas Politics that is on UNC Facebook page, where the goal is to speak very little in terms of facts. Just go out there and say whatever. Just cast aspersions, make disparaging remarks, make people sound bad, and talk loud and talk incessantly. In other words, talk so much that I don't even have time to digest what you're saying and think about it and speak to the emotions of your base. Let me just play a little clip here from Anil Roberts and his son, right?
Their data, their COVID-19 protocols, and I am saying that their science in here does not match their science out there.
I am saying to you, Senator Roberts, that you need to tone it down. Tone it down.
President, I would love to know what standing order, please, is tone it down, because I've read and I have not seen it. Please advise.
Well, no, that's very good for you. If you are reading and you're not seeing it, I am saying to you, and I have said it repeatedly, unless someone wants to question the authority of the presiding officer, I am saying to you, tone it down.
Madam President, I'm not questioning you. I'm asking you what standing order.
You actually
what
are
is it
questioning
standing
me.
order?
You actually are questioning me, and I'm going to say to you, continue along this line, and your speaking time will be curtailed today.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't be shocked, but let me continue. I quote
Senator Roberts, please, those offhand remarks, cut it out.
Let me say, this is a good time to quote one of the greatest soca songs of the year by the Blacks. I'm going to quote from it because it's a hit song. We didn't have a carnival, probably because the COVID-19 protocols and the science was not followed from last year, February. Had it been followed properly, pertinently, and to the best of everybody's experience, we may have been able to have a domestic...
Senator Roberts, you are speaking on everything but the motion. This is your last opportunity.
And in the song, Black said, if you cut me, you go see blood. If you squeeze me, you go feel the love. Because Blacks believes in his constitution, while the PNM government shreds it, curtails the opposition speaking time, cuts it, makes us talk softer, and does what they want to the opposition. But we will stand firm.
Senator Roberts, your contribution is finished.
Now, forget for a second the ridiculous notion that if something was done differently, we would have a carnival this year. You hear that statement, right? Forget that for a second. Put that aside. Also forget that the people who talking here are the people who are in support of a party, a woman, and a regime who initially was saying that sun kills COVID repeatedly in the beginning of this March last year, the same March we in now, 2020. These people were coming out and saying that sun will kill COVID, and we don't have anything to worry about in the Caribbean because we have sun. COVID is for temperate countries. Let me don't forget it for a second. Put that one side. You see, when you finish your statement, right? Because regardless of how you feel about that, that's cool. If you believe those things to be true, we go accept that, right? That is your work. But when the speaker is telling you, opening by telling you, tone it down, and you're asking her about standing orders, because and Roberts is typically more of a lawyer than any lawyer they have, right? And you go to the standing order. And, I mean, she knows her stuff. It's Christine Kangaloo. Christine Kangaloo will now come out. So she say basically, good for you that you know it's not a standing order, but what I want to know is if you're questioning the speaker or not, which can be addressed, right? He said, nah, I ain't questioning the speaker. But in the end, when she tell you tone it down and, you know what I mean, speak on the motion, don't speak on, we're speaking about everything else except what we come here to talk about. You hear the little remark in the end? The government will curtail our speaking time, tell us to tone it down, tell us to speak softer. So wait, what you're trying to do is take an independent entity, institution, or chair, and you're basically sliding it in there that is the government. So the speaker is the government. And then they vex with Natalie Lagore when Natalie Lagore came out and said that the UNC was clearly trying to cast out an independent institutions in this country like the Election and Boundaries Commission as a way of trying to regain control. But it is clear as day. This is not by chance, and these things not disconnected. It is organized. It is part of what the UNC doing as a campaign now to undermine the current government, of which they are a part, to do things like make little remarks. Because you see, the base or the average person who listening to them, who's a UNC supporter, who will never see nothing else but UNC, will miss that statement. Or they wouldn't realize that they hear that statement and all of a sudden go along with the notion too that the speaker, everybody's a PNM then. Anything that is not UNC or in full support of UNC is PNM. And this is where I can't stand politicians and politics for this. Because that is foolishness. And you know, the thing about it is the people who make up the cabinet and the Senate and the parliament in this country is some of the brightest people in this country. I say it all the time. Not just, I'm talking about book sense, common sense, business, professionals. They have a lot of experience and a lot of education and plenty street sense too. But they rather use the average person who don't know much or who don't read much or who don't read into much as pawns. Because this statement that was real uncalled for, to say that the government will curtail our speaking time. Exactly what she had threatened to do. He come to say, that is the government. So in other words, that is Rowley too. And listen, if you have a little time on your hands, don't listen to this alone, you know. Don't listen to that clip I play alone, you know, because that clip is tame compared to the rhetoric that being spoken on shows like Douglas Politics when he talking directly to the UNC base outside of the national viewpoint. Because with the national viewpoint, we'll see what happens in the Senate, and the things like this will rise to the top and end up in the news and so on. So at least the more informed people will see that. But when they're talking on Douglas Politics and they're talking amongst themselves and to themselves, it is bad. It's get nasty. It's get bad. It is a lot of times driven by emotions, very little fact. As a matter of fact, I want to go as far to say things that outright untrue. And they're being pushed. And again, it's really part of, if you ask me, maintaining a digital campaign throughout, so that whenever elections come up, be they by-elections or national election, Tobago election, you cast enough doubt on the sitting government so that while you might have already accepted that you are not an option. Like my partner Fazir say, unelectable. I like the word, you know. You almost accept your role as unelectable. So you stop presenting issues that you will bring to the table. But you're just there to cast doubt on what the government does. And that's fine too by me, you know. Go on bad talk Rowley. I mean, I come here and bad talk Rowley as much as every chance I get. But when you start to attack the EBC, the Speaker of the House, and independent bodies that dare to maintain our governance and change over when one party win, one party lose, or maintain the democracy in this country, you're going down a dangerous road, and it's self-serving. And I mean, I just hope people seeing that for what it is, because it does not matter to me if you're pro PNM, you're pro UNC, or you're right down the middle. You had to listen to statements like these and start making decisions about whether you're pro-democracy or not, or whether you're pro for your own freedoms or not, because that is a dangerous game that is being played by United National Congress. And then to go so far, this is not the first time or the second time or the third time. But we see now where Kamala Persad-Bissessar take it upon herself because the government don't want to ask for a vaccine, or didn't ask, or nobody offer, whatever the situation is. She take it upon herself to put pen to paper, to write the Indian government, to remind them about when we come there with Orange Sky and we had a good time and all these nice things, and Oli like me and I like Oli and everything. And we need vaccines down here. In other words, presenting herself as the prime minister of the country, as the leader in the country. In other words, the leader don't want to do the thing, I go take lead and do it. Dangerous road. I just want people who are particularly, if you are a UNC supporter and you're listening to this, right? I want you to, for a second, consider if when Kamala Persad-Bissessar was in government, Rowley was writing letters to the High Commissioner of India, the government of India directly. I want to know what letterhead they write it on to, you know. I want to know what letterhead. Was it a UNC letterhead? What they had up there? Coat of arms? What's the situation? Let me know what they write that on now. What kind of paper? Because if Rowley was doing that when Kamala Persad-Bissessar was in power, half of this country would have been an uproar, you know. And I see in half of this country applauding those efforts. That is undermining a system that has been there long before they had a UNC. You understand? So I just hope people watching it, you watch it for yourself, because this isn't the first time. If I remember right, a letter was sent to Trump to let him know what happened with Maduro and these things. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the agenda. Because the thing about this, right, is going back to the back in the day when they say make the country ungovernable. When the country ungovernable, it's not going to be governable when you come back in power, you know. So I don't know if the intention is to make sure that we do everything that we do to make it look as bad as possible, so that people don't have a choice. They don't like us, but they wouldn't have a choice but to put us back in power when the time comes. I don't know if that is the goal. But I want to assure you all that if that is the goal and only win the election, you are not going to be able to govern. It is not going to happen. That do fix so. So anyway, enough of them and the politics. I mean, we know for vaccines yet, because let me just say one more thing about vaccines before we move on. In the midst of this vaccine bacchanal between two of them, between ketchup and mustard, right down the middle comes Ansa McCall. I want to get over Ansa McCall. It's one of the stranger things I've seen. Ansa McCall come out and say, listen, we're going to vaccinate all the employees. That's on we. That's on us. We go take care. I don't know. Who is doing PR for these companies? Like, who in charge? Why would you put a statement like that in the midst of that being the most controversial issue in the country right now? I know. But beyond being is a gaffe in my mind, because you would any good PR person would just stay away from that story at that point in time. But it raised a lot of questions in my mind, because at that point when they made that press release saying that they're going to get vaccines for their 6,000 employees, I trying to figure out what is happening. Like, I have something I not see, you know. I was talking to my partner living in Canada. He's in Calgary, and he was talking about the pace at which Canadians getting vaccinated, about 1 in 40 million, a million out of 40 million now have been vaccinated. When you look at that pace, what's 1/40th? Small, right? When you look at that pace of vaccine, and they have all the access, all the relationships, all the money, all the influence, all the power, everybody like the person who in charge over there. And that's the pace they're going at with vaccinations. I was worried already about what happened with Trinidad because nobody really studying. We border closed, we can't even go nowhere. If they open the border and we start to travel, we might get vaccines faster when they say, hey, only infecting everybody. So I was always of the impression that these vaccines hard to get. They hard to get in large quantities. No country has enough to vaccinate all the people that they have to vaccinate. But somehow Answer McCall could procure 6,000. I don't understand from where or how. Maybe they had asked India. I'm not sure. That was a real strange one to me. And I tell myself, and then beyond that, they put it out in this statement like they made these statements in such a way almost as to say, listen, we're really doing everybody a good. We're doing the country a service overall by offering this, taking care of our employees. And it came across as a little bit odd, like maybe just insensitive during the time because, okay, so if you could get 6,000, how come you didn't say, let me get 6,000 for the elderly, or let me get 6,000 for healthcare workers or immigration workers in this case, or let me get 6,000 for teachers? It was just kind of odd. It's almost like I see everybody jump on their Facebook page and it's like, hey, what's going on? All they want, only just want to vaccinate people so people could stop being home so they could come back to work. Maybe. But again, I was unsure about where that statement come from. I feel like I say it's a little more PR work on the part of Answer McCall there to make sure that when them statements come out, or if they come out at all, they managed, because the timing was odd, and then just the way it was. And my first instinct was that they're soon going to change that to say 12,000, and they will say we'll give 6,000 to thing and 6,000 to our employees. But they eventually pulled back and change the tenor of the statement, and almost like they're not circumventing any process and it's still the government rule to get the vaccines and stuff. It was just like an oddball in the middle of an already odd week. All right, talking about oddball, we keep going back to, this is my last on politics, right? I promise, for the week. We keep going back to THA elections and the fact that it looked like them fellas go just live out until the elections constitutionally due again, because them not going to see eye to eye and they ain't coming together. And maybe it's best that them don't trust one another, because nothing in moving where them two parties concerned, PNM and PDP in Tobago. I'm talking about the hung election, right? 6-6, coincidentally. And in the midst of that, and I hear Watson Duke wife is owed a bunch of money by WASA for contracts that would have been done before and so on. No, they're not disclosing what the amount is, but they say she owed, right? And it's kind of odd, because he is on the one on the side of telling WASA workers to take a day and all this kind of thing, trying to resist this notion that WASA is going to be closed in 2023. They say WASA is it's almost like they're coming out and saying the corruption is too intricate, too much has happened, the institution needs to be shut down. So the first thing I thought was like they was going to privatize the water and let people pay a private company for water. So of course, I thinking prices going to go up. They don't say electricity going to go up, gas going up, water going up. We in for some rough times, right? We don't see that coming already. But apparently I was wrong about that. So the plan and the recommendations that this committee, who was appointed to take a look at WASA, came up with is to wind down the operation of WASA up to 2023. So there will be no more WASA after 2023. But they're bringing a new public sector organization to run the water in the country. Listen, I don't know, boy. What make them feel it's gonna be any different when the public sector take back over this thing? It's gonna be the same thing. So they're naming it. I hear through the grapevine. This wasn't in the papers, right? But somebody on the inside tell me that they're shutting down WASA, just like how Petrotrin went down, and we have the I think it's Paria or Petroleum Holdings, or whatever the new one name. So they go in with they shut it down WASA, but they come in with Water and Sewage Treatment Enterprise. So no more WASA, it's going to Water and Sewage Treatment Enterprise. You check the acronym and see what it is, right? It's the same like a lock. We just spinning top in mud, so I don't know what is the point now. I guess the idea is get rid of corruption, systemic corruption and all that going on in WASA now, but if you're going with this new WASTE, what is Water and Sewage Treatment Enterprise? WASTE. I hope that I suppose that will be better at that point in time. But it's more of the same. And you don't know what to expect about this. They're going to have over the next 2 years a bunch of inquiry, this, that, what's new, going to shut down the place. I remember they complaining about water. I grew up in St. James. I never see water problems yet. This is the rainiest dry season I have seen ever. But she's still getting low water pressure every now and again. And I mean, knock on wood, somehow she go on us water. We ain't having no problems with water concern at all. We are tanks too. We can't live down on this side without tanks. But I watching what happened in St. James, thing by Stacey and them La Puerta and Diego Martin is the same thing. It's like water scarce in the rainiest dry season I've seen in a long time. So another one to keep an eye on, but we don't know. We see that happen many times before in our history. It's like one thing about this podcast is like the more things change, the more they remain the same, and you see it all the time. So 2023 will be a new name with the same thing. Like my mother used to tell me a long time, you put on new clothes and cologne and thing, and you ain't bathing. You put on clean clothes and you stink skin. That's what it feels like with this. All right, time to get out of here. But before I go, I want to talk about a couple of things in entertainment again. Let me go foreign first and I'll come back local, right? I just taken a documentary on Biggie Smalls. And I felt like I saw enough documentaries on how Biggie died and that type of thing. And they had a movie. I really liked the movie Notorious too, and it was real good. But I think this documentary that they just put on Netflix, check it out, right? I think it's unique because it feels like it come from the inside. Whereas a lot of these stories were told by what seemed to be outsiders, if I could put it like that. Because they had his brethren seemed to be a cameraman right through. So they show you a lot of footage that I would have never seen of them just behind the scenes before shows, enjoying themselves, and a little peep into the artist's life. And maybe that's what I was trying to say earlier in the episode when I was talking about show me what happened in the band room and behind the scenes. Like when artists chilling and just vibes and what's going on. And I find we saw a lot of that with this, like video of him in studio, them after gigs, showing up for gigs and that kind of thing, and some of the fanfare, some stories behind I don't know if all you remember, they used to show you where he was on the street having a rap battle with a fella named Supreme back in the days. You would have probably seen the video before. The video, they had shown you this scene in the movie when Lil Kim had passed and he saw her for the first time. She was taking him in rapping on the corner. They went back into some more. I didn't know that they had a guy called Biggie Smalls who threatened him to stop using the name. That is why he changed to Notorious. I really thought that when he was Biggie Smalls and he was doing them songs like Bullshit and Party and thing, he was a more party kind of guy. But by the time he did the Ready to Die album, them songs was dread. So I thought he really changed his name to Notorious to reflect the type of music he was singing. But they give us some more insight into those things. And as we're talking about him battling on the corner, as a versus man, right? I don't know how much people take in D'Angelo versus, but D'Angelo versus was weird. Swizz Beatz and them said they was trying to get D'Angelo versus Maxwell, which would have been decent. I mean, two of them very, very similar, and I guess they were accused of Maxwell patterning after D'Angelo and that type of thing. But D'Angelo have hits, influence a lot of hits on stuff, and they do a kind of awkward one where he just bring people on. I guess it's me like in Song Clash plenty less. I like war. I want to see men battle. And I heard on Breakfast, like, taking in a clip of the Breakfast Club from this morning, that's Monday morning, that they saying the next verse is going to be Raekwon versus Ghostface Killah. are definitely making some time, and I'm making that into something, and I'm watching that because them men, not only, I mean, they have plenty songs together, but as Wu-Tang, like, I wonder how they're gonna work, boy. Like, if they're gonna represent for Wu-Tang as a whole, or both of them had individual careers, so if they're gonna just play 20 of those. But I think more than anything else is to hear their own stories, boy. When you hear the men's stories from Wu-Tang days and stuff, like, they could do it a documentary real similar to what you can imagine what that would be like. Like, they do a few Wu-Tang documentaries, but it'd be good for one to be produced like that, or a Wu-Tang movie. I would like to see that. So it just remember hip hop heads, boy, men like Damian Archie and them who was in Fatima, who was them men and still real hip hop men. So Raekwon versus Ghostface Killer, that definitely gonna be one to watch. And then on the local frontier, you had to go and see Ding Dong on Yellow Cow TV. Believe me, you had to see Ding Dong on Yellow Cow TV, boy, because we talk about Ding Dong and Iowa, and he talked about it for himself. Ding Dong is just a entertaining kind of guy, entertaining dude. He just, boy, the man is a light. The man is a light, and I wish that you know, the thing about it is, I wonder why if the whole Ding Dong and them would feel about doing a podcast, but he's the ideal kind of person for a forum like this, in a way he could just talk more about himself and guess some. Maybe I'll see you there. That's what they're willing to do. But yeah, check out Yellow Cow TV. They're back. This is season 2 for them, and that Ding Dong is one to watch. You had to take it in, and for those of you who watch it, it might be an inside joke, but for those of you who watch it, you're finally getting to see who is Lana. And Lana is Vibes. So take in Yellow Cow TV, and that's about it for me. So I will see you guys next week. Enjoy, stay safe, stay COVID free. You know what I mean? Let me get back to paying attention to this next week.